With both Disney and Marvel already panicking over Ironheart episodes 1 through 3 and the ongoing ratings disaster that it is, there is also way too much focus on the LGBTQ community by the fandom in a negative manner. And it just needs to go away, I think, for a healthy story to grow, and for Riri to really share her limelight with...
Natalie AI thing seems utterly preposterous and ridiculous, and even for an MCU show, I'm finding it to be a little bit of a bridge too far to go. The Heist crew, all lame. Every single one of them, all lame.
And so in this, I'm not sure what they're meant to be, because this character isn't to be confused with Slog.
Slug, our hacker extraordinaire.
Who is also the exact opposite in the same show. I'm really confused.
See, it deserves your attention. Ironheart deserves your attention. That's how I knew. I was like, oh, they are desperate to get people to watch this show. After I did my reaction, I kept getting, hey, it wasn't that bad. I just watched it. Hey, I just watched the first 3 episodes. It wasn't that bad.
Ironheart might be one of the worst executed ideas ever in the MCU, because under all that garbage was actually potential.
Yeah, and it's like the real Tony Stark, it's like back somehow, and there's like a moment where she's flying through and he's like, who is that? And she's like, I'm Ironheart, Mr. Stark. And he's like, I like that girl. And then he like goes to do something else. Like that would be like the level of something that I think would possibly happen.
Ironheart is back, this time going to an uncomfortable place for viewers.
Ironheart is the biggest L of Marvel of all time. The reactions are just spectacular. Supposedly he's smarter than Tony Stark, bites an electric wire, sells her soul to gain magic powers, uses new powers to steal. What did the writers mean by this? Smoke detector beeps.
I can understand why she's frustrated. That's how I feel watching her interviews.
How do you feel about the impact that she's having on young Black girls? And I'm going to be completely honest, on Black women.
You know, this is yet another area that's getting vibrant. It's getting full in the way that it should be.
Ironheart is practically unwatchable.
This show basically keyed their car, their mom, and in their bowl of cereal in the morning.
They have Dominique Thorne, you know, going out there talking about DEI, LGBTQ rights, and how there's no agenda there, and she continues to do so. But the other thing is that they also had Robert Downey Jr., and they had him roll out and really kind of prop the show up and prop the character of Riri Williams up above Tony Stark.
The speculation is back, and it's louder than ever. Marvel hasn't said a word about Ironheart Season 2, but the latest details have fans connecting dots, spotting patterns, and wondering if Dominique Thorne's future in the MCU is about to take a very different turn. We've been following this story since Ironheart first went into production, from her debut in Wakanda Forever to the finale's game-changing Mephisto reveal. Now, months later, the situation feels like déjà vu. Marvel has used this silent strategy before, on Fantastic Four, Snow White, and the Acolyte. No public cancellation, but no forward momentum either. And with Thorne admitting there are no renewal talks and creator Chinaka Hodge insisting the story is far from over, it's exactly the kind of mixed messaging we've seen lead to long delays. The viewership numbers tell another side of the story. The series hit the streaming top 5 in release weeks, but didn't dominate. Critic reviews sat at 77%, but audiences were split almost evenly between love and frustration. That middle ground is risky for Marvel's current financial climate, especially after recent underperformers. And yet, Marvel's not cutting Riri loose. She's already set for Marvel Zombies, ensuring the character stays active in fan memory. But is that the bridge to her next big appearance? Or her quiet fade out from live-action MCU? That's where the conversation is heading now. The moment Mephisto appeared in the Ironheart finale, it should have been a signal that Marvel was all in on Riri Williams' future. This wasn't just another cameo. Casting Sacha Baron Cohen as one of Marvel's most dangerous and manipulative characters is the kind of move the studio reserves for storylines they plan to build on for years. And in this case, they handed Riri a storyline with massive implications, one that ties her fate to the supernatural side of the MCU. In that final episode, Riri faced impossible odds.
We already know that those out there like Dominique Thorne, the main actress of the show who plays Riri Williams, after really going after fans and really going after the critics, it's only making matters worse for both Disney and Marvel.
Cornered into making a bargain that no true hero should want to make. The deal she struck with Mephisto wasn't just about survival. It was a pivot that fundamentally changes who she is and where her moral compass points. That's not the kind of plot twist Marvel usually lets go to waste. Think about Loki's scepter in Avengers. Think about Wanda's turn in Doctor Strange. When they plant seeds like this, they usually water them. And yet, silence. No teaser for where that deal might lead. No post-credit hint in other MCU projects. No mention in Marvel's Phase 6 roadmap. It's as if the studio lit a match, dropped it into gasoline, and then walked away without watching the explosion. Then came the strangest twist of all. Dominique Thorne, the actress behind Riri, skipping post-finale press entirely. No late-night interviews, no convention appearances, and then, quietly, unconfirmed reports start swirling online of a private flight to Dubai, booked just days after the finale aired. For fans, it instantly became part of the mystery. Was it just a vacation, or a way to step out of the spotlight while Marvel decided what to do next? Some believe Marvel is holding this storyline for a bigger crossover event, maybe even Avengers, Doomsday, where RDJ's Doctor Doom enters the picture. Others think this was a test run, an experiment to see if Riri could carry darker, riskier material, and the lack of a green light means the experiment didn't land the way Marvel hoped. Either way, the Mephisto twist gave Ironheart more long-term potential than most Disney Plus series get, which makes Marvel's silence and Dominique's sudden disappearance from the public eye all the more intriguing. From the moment Ironheart wrapped its finale, the fan base fractured into two very different camps. On one side, you had viewers who saw the Mephisto twist as a bold, game-changing step for the MCU. They praised the decision to take a young, optimistic hero and throw her into a morally dangerous deal, saying it gave Riri Williams the kind of layered storytelling usually reserved for characters like Loki or Wanda. For them, Dominique Thorne delivered exactly what the role needed: sharp, confident, and unafraid to steer Riri into murkier territory. But on the other side, frustration boiled over. Many fans felt Ironheart failed to build enough emotional groundwork before the finale's big swing. They called the pacing uneven, the supporting cast underdeveloped, and the supernatural turn too sudden.
The thing about Ironheart is that yes, we do know that the last 3 episodes will be debuting tonight, by the way, really fulfilling the show for season 1, and I highly doubt that there's going to be a season 2, based on the ratings disaster that it is, based on the critics really calling this show out for what it is.
In their view, the Mephisto moment wasn't earned. It was a shortcut to shock value. Reddit threads lit up with posts asking why Marvel would waste such a heavyweight villain introduction on a series that might not even get a season 2. Complicating the debate was Dominique Thorne's own absence from the conversation. Normally, Marvel's stars are front and center after a finale, answering fan questions, teasing future appearances, and keeping the momentum alive. Instead, Dominique went completely quiet, and the Dubai flight rumors only fueled speculation. Some wondered if it was a sign of behind-the-scenes tensions. Others thought it was simply her way of stepping away from online noise. The split wasn't just about whether people liked or disliked the finale, it was about what it meant for Marvel's larger strategy. Supporters argued that backlash is just part of taking creative risks, pointing to how Thor, Ragnarok initially divided fans, but is now considered a franchise high point. Critics, however, saw Ironheart as another sign that Disney Plus series are struggling to balance character-driven drama with the MCU's heavy-hitting crossover ambitions. And while the two camps debated online, Marvel Studios stayed completely out of it. No public defense of the series, no post-mortem interviews from producers, no roadmap updates, just silence. A silence that was starting to feel less like strategy and more like a verdict. In a normal Marvel rollout, a finale with that much setup for future stories would be followed almost immediately by a renewal announcement. Loki got it. What If got it. Even Ms. Marvel had her next appearance confirmed before the credits finished rolling. But with Ironheart, there's been nothing. Not a press release, not a Comic-Con tease, not even a stay tuned from Kevin Feige. Dominique Thorne herself confirmed in a recent interview that no official talks about Season 2 have taken place. That's a rare level of honesty for a Marvel actor, and it tells us 2 things. 1, she's not bound by a PR talking point here, and 2, the ball is entirely in Marvel's court. Meanwhile, series creator Chinaka Hodge insists the story isn't over, and that the finale's cliffhanger was intentionally designed to lead somewhere. That optimism is comforting for fans, but it also reads like a creative team still waiting for the studio to make its move. Marvel's silence could mean several things. It could be that Ironheart is being saved for a larger Phase 6 storyline, maybe something involving the supernatural side of the MCU where Mephisto plays a bigger role. It could also be that they're reevaluating the character's trajectory, especially given the mixed audience reception and the financial caution Disney has been showing across all its streaming content.
Certain is that this is a show that nobody asked for. This is also a show that is based on a comic back in 2016 that was canceled, quite frankly. That's also another fact that people have to realize. But focusing on Disney CEO Bob Iger and Kevin Feige, they are desperately trying to oversell this show to a degree that we have never seen before.
The timing of Dominique's sudden step back from the public eye and those swirling Dubai rumors has only deepened the mystery. If there are internal discussions about the future of Ironheart, they're happening far away from cameras and microphones. And until Marvel decides to say something, speculation is the only thing filling that vacuum. Adding to the uncertainty, Marvel's upcoming slate is already crowded. Daredevil, Born Again, Wonder Man, Vision Quest, and multiple Avengers films are all vying for budget and marketing focus. In that kind of lineup, a project without a confirmed renewal risks getting quietly pushed aside. For fans, it's a frustrating limbo, because when Marvel doesn't tell you what's next, you start to wonder if there even is a next. Just when it seemed like Marvel was content to let Ironheart fade quietly into the background, one familiar face stepped in, and it wasn't just any Marvel veteran. Robert Downey Jr., the man who started the entire MCU as Tony Stark, publicly threw his support behind Dominique Thorne and the series. And it wasn't a vague, polite nod either. According to Thorne, RDJ had been shown early cuts of the series before it dropped on Disney+. His reaction? A short but telling 3-word message, "I love it." He even posted a follow-up online with the phrase "Iron Man's Ironheart," a stamp of approval that sent Marvel fans buzzing. For many, this wasn't just about him liking the show. It felt like an intentional passing of the torch, reinforcing the idea that Riri Williams was meant to be Tony Stark's spiritual successor in the MCU. The endorsement came at a time when social media debates about Ironheart were at their peak. Supporters saw RDJ's comment as validation, proof that the show's vision had the blessing of the man who defined the MCU's tech genius archetype. Critics, however, weren't swayed. Some even accused Marvel of using Downey's star power as a PR buffer to soften the blow of mixed audience reception. But whether it was strategic or sincere, the fact remains. RDJ doesn't weigh in on every Marvel project. His name carries weight, both with fans and inside the studio, and having him vouch for Dominique Thorne directly connects Riri to Marvel's golden era, the years when the MCU was breaking records and dominating cultural conversation.
So let's get into this. Now, one thing about Bob Iger is that we know that I, along with many others out there, like to call him Bob Liger, because all this guy does is lie to the audience, he lies to the shareholders, he lies to anybody out there, in order to really kind of string them along into the following year in hopes that they will stay around, whether it's shareholders or customers. And we already know that Disney Plus is a failing platform.
Still, as powerful as the endorsement was, it didn't change the elephant in the room. Marvel still hasn't said what's next for Ironheart. RDJ's blessing might keep the character in the conversation, but without an official project on the horizon, it's just that, a conversation. And that's where Marvel's next move becomes crucial, because RDJ's support can only hold fan attention for so long before the silence starts to feel final. While live-action Ironheart remains in limbo, Marvel is quietly keeping Riri Williams active in another corner of the franchise: animation. Dominique Thorne is confirmed to reprise her role in the upcoming Marvel Zombies series, part of Marvel's animated slate for Disney+. It's a smaller stage compared to a headline live-action series, but it's still an intentional move to keep the character in circulation. For Marvel, this kind of pivot serves 2 purposes. First, it keeps fans engaged with Riri without committing the massive budget a live-action season 2 would require. Second, it buys the studio time to gauge audience reaction, reassess story direction, and decide whether Riri's arc should return on Disney Plus or fold directly into a major MCU film. The Marvel Zombies connection is especially interesting because the show sits outside the main continuity, freeing writers to experiment with darker tones and alternate character beats. For Riri, it's a safe space to explore bolder, riskier personality traits without locking them into MCU canon. If Marvel wants to reframe her character before bringing her back to live action, this is the perfect proving ground. And then there's the bigger picture. Marvel's Phase 6 is already mapped with heavy hitters: Avengers Doomsday in December 2026, Fantastic Four, and rumored supernatural crossovers that could link back to Mephisto. Even if Ironheart doesn't get a solo return, Riri could be reintroduced in a larger ensemble project.
It is a failing business model for, of course, Disney. We already know that Tony Gilroy admitted to this, the guy who created the Andor series, both Season 1 and Season 2. Disney just doesn't have the amount of money that they have anymore to create all of these shows. However, interestingly enough, with the Ironheart ratings disaster only getting worse for those at Disney and Marvel,
the way Wanda Maximoff went from Age of Ultron to Civil War and Infinity War before her own spotlight. Still nothing in Marvel's official roadmap lists Riri for a confirmed Phase 6 appearance. For some fans, that absence is concerning. It suggests the studio isn't ready to lock her into the next wave of interconnected storytelling. For others, it's just Marvel being Marvel, holding cards close until the reveal has maximum impact. What's clear is that Riri hasn't been abandoned. She's been moved to a different chessboard. And in Marvel's game, that can either be a calculated setup for a major return or the first quiet step toward phasing a character out entirely. Somewhere in the middle of the Ironheart speculation cycle, a strange new thread started popping up online. Rumors about Zendaya. Social media posts, clickbait thumbnails, and insider tweets began linking her name to Ironheart in ways that didn't quite make sense. Some claimed she'd be replacing Dominique Thorne. Others hinted at a character swap in upcoming Marvel projects. And before long, the theory started snowballing. Here's the reality. There's no credible source tying Zendaya to Ironheart in any way. She's firmly rooted in the Spider-Man films, and her future MCU appearances, if any, would likely stay within that storyline. The confusion seems to have started when Marvel fans noticed that both Euphoria and Ironheart target younger audiences with style-forward characters, and some speculated Marvel might be looking to merge that star power. Add in a few speculative YouTube videos and unverified blog posts, and suddenly it was being treated like a real possibility. But when you break it down, the Zendaya swap theory doesn't fit Marvel's current strategy. Swapping lead actors mid-franchise without a story reason is rare, especially when the character is still new. The only comparable cases, like Terrence Howard to Don Cheadle as War Machine, happened early in the MCU's history and for reasons unrelated to audience reception. In Ironheart's case, there's no public sign Marvel is looking to recast Riri Williams, let alone with someone already deeply associated with a different MCU corner. That said, the rumor's persistence speaks to something bigger. The uncertainty surrounding Dominique Thorne's live-action future has created a vacuum, and in that space, wild theories can thrive. Fans are used to Marvel planning cross-franchise surprises.
Already those like Kevin Feige and Bob Iger are heading into damage control mode at a level that we have never seen before. In this case, Bob Iger got very defensive after the LGBTQ backlash, and also in the midst of the ratings beginning to tank already. Now, Iger recently delivered the following in a desperate move to damage control the situation.
So when official information is scarce, speculation fills the gap. For now, the Zendaya connection is just that, a rumor. It's not part of the roadmap. It's not coming from verified insiders, and it's certainly not confirmed by Marvel. But it's a reminder of how quickly the conversation can drift when a project is left in public limbo. And in Ironheart's case, it's another reason why fans are still pressing Marvel for answers. Right now, Ironheart sits at one of the most uncertain crossroads in the MCU. On paper, Dominique Thorne has everything Marvel could want in a next-gen lead. Strong debut in Wakanda Forever, a character with deep comic lore, and a finale twist that connects directly to one of Marvel's most notorious villains. Add to that an endorsement from Robert Downey Jr., and you'd think a second season would already be filming. But the reality is more complicated. Mixed audience reception, shifting corporate priorities, and a crowded Phase 6 lineup have left Riri Williams without a confirmed live-action future. Instead, she's being kept alive through animation, quiet enough to avoid the pressure of weekly ratings, but still visible enough to keep her in the conversation. The Dubai flight rumors, the silence from Marvel, and the absence of even a hint at Comic-Con or D23 have created a vacuum. And that vacuum is now filled with fan theories, speculation, and debates over whether Marvel is protecting a valuable storyline or quietly letting it fade.
As CEO, it is 100% my responsibility to remain direct and transparent, and that doesn't just go for our customers, it goes for our shareholders as well. With our latest project, Ironheart, I want to be very truthful to our core customer base that our latest series is a wide success, regardless of what you have been hearing in the trades.
The Zendaya swap rumor shows just how quickly things can spiral when the studio doesn't guide the narrative. For some fans, this is just how Marvel works, laying low, then delivering a shocking return when the timing benefits the larger cinematic puzzle. For others, the silence feels like a warning that Riri's big screen ambitions could be winding down before they really began. What's undeniable is that Marvel has built a door for Riri Williams to walk back through, whether it's in Avengers, Doomsday, a future Disney Plus crossover, or even a late-stage announcement of Ironheart Season 2. The Mephisto twist, if left hanging, would be one of the MCU's biggest dropped threads in years. So the question now isn't just whether Ironheart comes back, it's how. Will Marvel double down, making Riri the tech-powered moral wildcard they teased in that finale? Or will this be another case of a promising character left stranded in the background of a sprawling universe? One thing's for sure, fans aren't done talking about it, and Marvel can only stay silent for so long before they have to answer. What do you think? Is Marvel quietly setting Riri up for a huge comeback? Or is this the end of the road for Ironheart? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next update.